What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking the February 22nd, 2021 edition of Raw Talk, as always being hosted by Charlie Caruso and R-Truth. Charlie Caruso kicks off the show giving R-Truth a pep talk following his latest failure to become the 24/7 champion again on Monday's Raw last night. Truth was kind of hiding behind a referee backstage when Damian Priest caught him and kind of threatened Truth, if you try to take this title from Bad Bunny, you're going to have a problem with me. So Truth was very upset that he couldn't recapture the 24/7 championship as quickly as he normally would like. That was when Charlie and Truth recapped the ending to Raw that saw Bobby Lashley beat Braun Strowman. And then Charlie gets very confused. I'm not exactly sure why she gets confused. I'm not sure whether it was over, the confusion over that it's going to be Bobby and Miz next week and not Bobby, Braun, and Miz, or whatever the case might be. She gets very confused for about a minute or two. I think because they were talking about Miz winning the WWE Championship, and they were showing footage of Bobby and Braun from Raw. So maybe that was what threw her off. I'm not exactly sure. I never really caught what was going on there. But it made for a weird minute, and then the show went completely off the rails from there. But they do preview Lashley and Miz for the WWE Championship one-on-one next week on Raw. And Charlie says that Miz might be a transitional champion. Truth does not know what that means, and he thought that she said transparent champion. So that's a whole other conversation. They finally welcome on their first guest 7 minutes into the fucking show in the new United States champion, Matt Riddle. And it was funny. It's such a contrast from Talking Smack. Because Talking Smack this past week on Saturday, they had Apollo Crews on as their first guest. He was already on the show when they started the show. They didn't even have to welcome him out. He was already out there when they started. And that's fine if they want to recap Raw, which is completely pointless to me. That has never made any sense. But at the same time, though, it's like, can you get to the guest any quicker? I came to watch the show for people like Riddle and the guests they have on, not to hear Charlie and Truth blab on about nothing. So they finally welcome on the new U.S. champion, and he said that he was very lucky that there was someone else to pin in that match aside from Lashley, because he didn't think he was going to pin Lashley. He was very lucky he was able to pin John Morrison to win the championship. And that is exactly why Riddle is champion right now. If there was not another man in that match, and that's the whole reason why they added in Morrison to begin with. If it was a one-on-one match, Riddle was not going to lose. Lashley was not going to lose. He was not going to get pinned by Matt Riddle. But Riddle did pin Morrison and become the new U.S. champion. And he says that he likes a challenge. He does tease taking the title for a jump after he goes on the bump on Wednesday, because he was wearing the Evel Knievel colors on Sunday night at the pay-per-view at Elimination Chamber. He's got the U.S. Championship now. He's teasing doing something big with that championship, literally, not figuratively. Coming up on Wednesday, I guess. I don't know. But he thought he would never win gold. He talks about his main roster run so far and how he came in hot, beat AJ Styles' first match on SmackDown. Then he failed to become Intercontinental Champion. He failed to contend for the WWE Championship, and he's won his fair share amount of matches since coming to the main roster, but, he beat Bobby Lashley and failed to win whenever it mattered most. He thought he would never win gold. He never thought that opportunity would come. And even Keith Lee said to him, "Why do you love getting beat up so much?" But he said he relates to Air Bud. And regardless of what your thoughts on Matt Riddle are, and I know he's a very polarizing figure, and rightfully so, I totally understand that. Air Bud is a fucking good movie. And if you don't agree with that, then we're going to have a problem. So it doesn't matter what you think about Riddle. The fact he brought up Air Bud here and during his Raw promo a week or two ago, that got a pop out of me. So he says, a lot like he said in his post-match interview on .com on Sunday, he says that the championship is usually elevated by whoever holds it. No, he says that championship, he just outright admits, I'm in a pretty low spot right now. This championship is going to elevate me and take me to that next level. Lashley is the former U.S. champion. He just beat Braun Strowman clean in the main event of Raw. So if he can do that, then this will take me to bigger and better things as well. And that's the hope anyway. And holding a secondary championship, that is always the hope. Is that the reality? Not always. Usually, more often than not, it is not. But we will soon see. So he also gives Truth a pep talk and says that he'll get his championship back too. I was down in the dumps. I never really thought I would win gold, but Truth, you've done it near 50 times now. You'll get your 24/7 championship back at some point. And he says the door is now wide open for whatever might come his way. He's already faced John Morrison, had a great challenger in him on Monday's Raw. I don't think it was a championship match, but they had a very good match on Raw this week. And he says it's the start to a beautiful thing now that he's on Monday Night Raw. And then he says people might want to start investing in his business ventures, including the Bro Nuts and all the other dumb shit he's been promoting since coming to Raw. I'm not exactly sure about that, but if they book the guy right, he could be a fun fighting champion. So we'll see where it goes from here. The next guests they welcome on are Lana and Naomi. And Lana says right off the bat that she and Naomi, her goal is to become a champion by the end of the year. Soon enough, she and Naomi will become tag team champions. And Charlie says that she has this way of manifesting things, Lana does, and that will be no different in her opinion, and hopefully it will. And I like Naomi, but a lot of Naomi pairing as tag team champions does absolutely nothing for me. And speaking of Naomi, she does bring up that they're a new team, but they're not new to this. They've been doing it a long time. Their history goes back a lot farther than people think. And first and foremost, they believe in themselves. No one is going to believe in them unless they believe in themselves, and they do. And Lana has, she admits to doubting herself, but no longer. She believes they will become tag team champions. And then they talk the inspiration for their gear, and who cares? And then they move on. So then they welcome on, finally, AJ Styles and Omos. I believe is how they pronounce it. I always botch it. They're always changing the pronunciation. But AJ Styles and his bodyguard, friend, what have you. Styles turns down R-Truth's hug to start the his segment. And Truth was a bit disappointed by that. And Styles says, well, why are you hugging everyone? And Truth says, well, I fist bump people. He's like, no, you're outright hugging people. Why would I want to hug you? So AJ Styles, I guess, is very aware of the pandemic going on right now, so that's great. So anyway, he talks about Elimination Chamber and says that things were as they were. He got pinned in the match. He eliminated Sheamus. He got beat by Drew McIntyre and is not the WWE champion. It is what it is. The cards, may they lay as they did, or whatever the expression is that he said. And he said that he was man enough to be on Raw. Drew McIntyre was not. He was not spotted on Raw this week, but AJ Styles was. And he went on to beat Ricochet. And they talk about Omos's Ricochet attack on Raw this week and how he just beat the shit out of him. No, he didn't beat the shit out of him. He hit him with the choke bomb. And that thing looked brutal. That looked brutal. So it looked really, really brutal. And that was when Truth brought up, he asked Omos, he said, can AJ Styles really fit in your pocket? And Omos got very angry and says, are you kidding me right now? And threatened to beat up our Truth. And Truth goes, I'm just reading off the questions they put for me on the page. And he takes the piece of paper and hides behind it, which I thought was fucking great. And AJ said, well, what you should be asking is what's next for AJ Styles? And they kind of talk about that briefly, but they don't really give a clear-cut answer because I'm not even sure if anyone knows what's next for AJ Styles. He lost in the Royal Rumble. He lost inside the Elimination Chamber. He's one of the best they have in the entire company. I don't know what his road to WrestleMania looks like. He beat Ricochet on Raw this week, but is he going to end up in the United States Championship mix? We've seen him and Riddle a bunch of times before. I would much rather he have a much higher profile match on the show than him and Riddle. And that would be a fun match, and I assume that might be where they're going with him. But I'm honestly not sure. He's already faced Riddle a bunch, and him and Triple H has been rumored just because AJ wants that match. But how do you set that up with a month to go until WrestleMania? I guess they set up him and Taker pretty quick at the end of February 2020. So I guess they can if they want to, but WrestleMania is fast approaching, and they're going to have to build that very fast if they want that match to make sense. So anyway, this was just all over the place, this episode. I like the AJ and Omos stuff. What was I going to say? Riddle was entertaining, but Lana and Naomi were completely pointless, and the stuff to start the show, the first 7 minutes are completely skippable, where they're recapping Raw and Charlie gets confused, and everyone's human, everyone makes mistakes, but it was a very skippable episode. Nothing really of note said here, nothing new announced. Same old, the very middle of the road edition of Raw Talk, which is to say no different than most episodes of the show, which is to say don't bother wasting your time. You can find 27 minutes to go watch Steve Austin's show, the Straight Up Steve Austin show, or whatever else. That would be a better use of your time, in my opinion. So those are my thoughts on the February 22nd, 2020 edition of Raw Talk. Let me know if you agree, disagree in the comments down below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Hit the bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up, including this week. We got another 2 huge interviews coming up in the days to come, tomorrow and on Thursday. So on Wednesday, I'll be sharing my exclusive interview with NXT superstar Karrion Kross before he faces Santos Escobar in a no disqualification match on NXT tomorrow night. So that interview should be going live sometime tomorrow afternoon. And then my interview with the all-new WWE Champion, The Miz. That's going live here on the channel first thing Thursday morning. And then also in article form on Bleacher Report. The Kross interview will also be available in article form on dailyddt.com at some point tomorrow, I believe. So keep an eye out for that stuff. As a result of the interviews going up on weird days this week, I'm probably going to save my straight-up Steve Austin review for Friday. And then the WandaVision review for Sunday as usual, and my WWE 24 Big E review for next Monday. And then, of course, Talking Smack review on Saturday, #AskGSM review tomorrow, SmackDown audio review on Saturday, and the WrestleRant radio excerpts on Thursday. So there's a lot of content coming up here on the channel. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Check out all the Raw Talk reviews every Tuesday. Straight up Steve Austin, Miz and Mrs. coming back in a few weeks. There's a lot to review and a lot of content here on the channel coming up very soon, in addition to the stuff that's already here. So subscribe if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.